Hollywood is where people go to chase impossible dreams. My family believed we had finally found ours. When my father announced that he had bought an old mansion tucked away in the Hollywood Hills, we thought our lives were about to change forever. The house had once belonged to a legendary movie producer from Hollywood's golden age. It was enormous, surrounded by towering trees, hidden behind rusted iron gates that hadn't been opened in years. The real estate agent practically begged us to take it. "It has a history," she said with an uneasy smile. Dad laughed. "Every old Hollywood mansion has history." She didn't answer. That should have been our first warning. We moved in on a rainy afternoon. The mansion looked beautiful from the outside, but the closer we got, the stranger it felt. Every window seemed darker than it should have been. The air suddenly turned cold the moment we stepped through the front door. Mom blamed the old air conditioning.
Is that a ghost?
I wasn't so sure.
It's just an old painting,
Inside, dusty chandeliers hung from high ceilings. Faded portraits lined endless hallways, and an enormous staircase curved toward the second floor like something from an old horror film. My younger sister, Lily, wandered into the living room. "Someone's standing upstairs," she whispered. We all looked. Nobody was there. Dad smiled. "Your imagination is working overtime." Lily didn't smile back. That night, none of us slept well. At exactly 3:13 in the morning, a loud piano began playing somewhere inside the mansion. It wasn't random noise. Someone was playing an old Hollywood love song. Dad grabbed a flashlight. "It's probably some automatic system." The music stopped the second he reached the grand ballroom. The piano lid was closed. Dust covered every key except one. A single white key looked freshly pressed. Dad walked away without saying a word. The following morning, Mom found dozens of family photographs scattered across the kitchen floor. None of them belonged to us. Every picture showed the same family living inside the mansion, nearly 80 years earlier. There was a smiling mother, a proud father, 2 children, and in every photograph, there was another figure standing behind them. A pale woman dressed completely in black. No one else seemed to notice her, but she appeared in every single picture. Mom assumed someone had left the photographs behind. She packed them into a box and placed it in the attic. That night, the box returned to the kitchen. Every photograph was spread neatly across the table. Lily looked at them and quietly pointed toward the woman. "She says she's lonely." The room fell silent. Dad's face turned pale. "Who says?" "The lady in black." Dad threw every photograph into the fireplace. They burned within seconds. We thought it was over.
What happens now?
It was. The next evening, the photographs were back, completely untouched. Even the burn marks had disappeared. From that moment, the mansion changed. Doors opened by themselves. Lights flickered every evening. Footsteps echoed through empty hallways. Someone whispered our names whenever we were alone. Mom began hearing children laughing behind locked doors. Dad started waking up with scratches across his back. None of us wanted to admit what we were thinking. The house wasn't empty. It never had been. A week later, I discovered a hidden room behind the library bookshelf. The door only opened after I accidentally pulled an old bronze candle holder. Inside was a narrow staircase leading underground. The air smelled damp and rotten. At the bottom was an abandoned film studio. Old cameras, broken lights, movie reels, director's chairs. Everything had been left exactly where it was decades ago. On one wall, hundreds of newspaper clippings covered the plaster. Every headline told the same story. Missing actors, disappeared families, Hollywood mystery, unsolved death. Then I found one article that made my blood run cold. The mansion's original owner had disappeared with his wife and 2 children in 1952. Their bodies were never found. Authorities believed they simply vanished. I hurried upstairs to tell my parents. When we returned together, the hidden room had disappeared. The bookshelf was solid. There was no doorway. Dad became furious. "You've been watching too many horror movies." Even I started questioning my memory. Until that night. The film projector turned itself on. A white screen lowered from the ceiling inside the ballroom. An old black and white movie began playing. At first it looked like an ordinary family home video. Then we recognized the mansion. The smiling family from the photographs waved at the camera. The father laughed. The children played. Suddenly the image shook violently. A woman wearing black slowly walked into the frame. Everyone froze. The father looked terrified. The children screamed. The recording ended with complete darkness. Then a single sentence appeared across the screen.
You live here now.
"You live here now." Mom screamed. Dad unplugged the projector. The screen stayed on. The message remained. That was the first time Dad admitted something wasn't right. The following day, he hired paranormal investigators. 3 experienced investigators arrived carrying cameras, microphones, and thermal equipment. They confidently walked through the mansion. By sunset, their confidence was gone. One investigator refused to enter the upstairs hallway. Another kept insisting someone was breathing directly behind him. The oldest investigator finally sat down in silence. "I've investigated hundreds of haunted locations." He looked directly at my father. "This isn't haunted." Dad frowned. "What do you mean?" "The spirits aren't trapped here. They're protecting something." "What?" He slowly looked toward the basement. "Something that should never be disturbed." Dad didn't listen. The next morning, he searched the entire basement until he found a concrete wall that looked newer than everything around it. He rented demolition equipment.
Keep back!
Mom begged him to stop.
It's coming through!
Lily cried. Even I felt sick watching him. Dad struck the wall with a sledgehammer. The concrete cracked. Cold air rushed out. Behind it was another room. Inside stood dozens of old film canisters, stacked from floor to ceiling. In the middle sat a wooden rocking chair. A little girl slowly rocked back and forth. She looked no older than 8. Her white dress was perfectly clean. She smiled. "You shouldn't have opened it." The lights exploded. Every window in the mansion shattered simultaneously. The little girl disappeared. Then every film canister began rolling across the floor by themselves. One opened. Old films spilled everywhere. Images flashed across the walls without any projector. We watched decades of families entering the mansion. Every family looked happy. Every family disappeared, one after another. Then the final film began. It wasn't old. It showed us our family moving into the mansion, standing in the driveway, walking through the front door. Everything we had done during the past week. The recording continued. Except now, it showed tomorrow. Dad walking downstairs. Mom crying. Lily standing beside the woman in black. Me running toward the front gate. Then the screen went black. One sentence appeared. "Only one of you leaves." Dad shouted that none of it was real. He grabbed the film and tore it apart. The entire mansion shook violently. Portraits crashed from the walls. Every door slammed shut. The woman in black appeared at the top of the staircase. She slowly pointed toward the front entrance. "Leave." We didn't hesitate. We grabbed nothing. No clothes. No valuables. No documents. We ran outside as fast as we could. The moment we crossed the front gate, the front door slammed shut behind us. The mansion became completely silent. Police searched the property the next day. They found nothing unusual. No hidden room. No underground studio. No film reels. No photographs. No evidence that anything had happened. The authorities assumed we had imagined everything. Dad sold the mansion for a fraction of what he had paid. The new owners moved in 2 months later. Sometimes I search online to see if anyone still lives there. Every family disappears from public view after a few weeks. No interviews. No social media. No photographs. Nothing. Last month, I received an envelope with no return address. Inside was a single photograph. It showed my family standing in front of the mansion on the day we moved in. Behind us stood the woman in black, smiling. When I turned the photograph over, there were only 6 handwritten words. "We'll be waiting if you return."